Told me I would have to wait. After all these conversations would result in nothing. Wish my friends and I could celebrate, but these plans keep falling through because there's always something. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Call your number, never pick it up. Even though last week you said we'd spend the day together. Saying sorry, but I've had enough. It's a toxic situation, you can't make it better. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like
And we are back with our third game tonight versus Waldorf, starting off with the Udyr and Jin ban. Volier ban as well, not much of a surprise there. Pike band as well, coming from Waldorf. Shaco ban. These are pretty much the same bands we've had before. Morgana band coming through there for Waldorf again. And CONE picks the Amumu, which is going to take that away from Waldorf's support. So that'll be really interesting to see what Waldorf does, what they pick for their support now. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Josh?
Uh, Not quite yet. Waldorf picking into the Ornn for a third time, and actually last game making that Ornn look pretty good. To be fair, the other lanes did also get ahead, and it was more just supporting some of the engages and collapses and such. But not the worst pick, not the best pick. At least they've been consistent with their top lane. Looks like they're going to go with the MF again. Uh, MF kind of did decently last game. Didn't do great, didn't do terribly. CNE going again with the Mordekaiser and the Kaisa. Wonder what Waldorf's going to pick as their third. Are they going to go for the Pantheon again? Or are they going to go for maybe their jungler? We'll have to see.
Oh,
They
look. Yeah.
do go for the Pantheon again, which is kind of what I expected, just because the Pantheon did a lot of work against the Kaisa last game,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a really good pick into the Kaisa. And if you don't have a jungler that's able to provide enough pressure to be there to protect the Kaisa early on, then the Kaisa's gonna get bullied up under her turret. Waldorf just continuing to double down on the support and ADC pools. CNE banning the Echo from last game, which I think is a pretty good move. The Echo did some decent work last game. Uh, about as much as the Lee Sin, but it was enough to help the Pantheon get rolling well enough. And they're sticking with the Poppy ban. I'm very confused as to why they keep banning Poppy, and I don't know if I got an answer from Ryan last game.
I, they've discussed it, but I don't really understand what's going on half the time anyway, so.
I can 100% relate to that. Waldorf going into the Leona, still preferring a CC heavy tanky support. Leona very strong in that regard, providing a lot of just utility all around. Uh, what is CUNE gonna choose for their bot lane and their jungle? It's the real question now. Ooh, that's gonna be a jungle of Moo. All right, okay. That Oh, and the Kaisa's.
Kaisa's gonna
Oh,
go bot lane, yeah.
oh, all
So they're kind
right.
of
There we go.
taking. They're just switching up the comp a little bit here. They took Waldorf's support Amumu away from them just to make them feel uneasy, and they're gonna put that jungle.
And then take the Lulu Kaisa to the bot lane, which is a pretty good pairing. Lulu providing a lot of safety to the Kaisa, providing some speed ups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pretty good disengage against the Leona, obviously, because you can slow the Leona down. You can ult the Kaisa or shield the Kaisa as needed to provide her with more utility. Anivia, a strong scaling pick mid lane. I think scales a little bit. I wouldn't say better than the Kaisa, but I think personally scales a little bit more quickly than the Kaisa. Um, so Anivia, a good strong pick there. Provides a lot of wave clear, a lot of dive defense with the ult. Having the Amumu for roam and CCs is going to be really strong. Waldorf, though, going with the Lilia to round off their comp, I assume in the jungle, which is that's gonna be interesting. I don't. I don't think of Lilia necessarily as a snowbally pick, but she's not necessarily a weak pick either. So pretty good comps again from both teams. That I think it's just going to come down to execution again and who's able to capitalize at the important parts of the game. MF Leona is not quite the same wombo combo. It's still a pretty strong wombo combo because the Leona ults AoE. And you still have the Ornn, which helps provide some of that CC for the MF ult. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how everybody plays this out.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see that Lilia, because correct me if I'm wrong, typically you play Lilia into a more tanky comp, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think CUNE is too tanky.
Yeah, traditionally you do tend to play Lilia into a tankier comp, and it looks like we've had an okay, okay. They're working on getting everything together in the lobby, but yeah, I usually play Lilia into a tankier comp, and Mordekaiser and Mumu are going to be building some health, so it's not the worst group to play Lilia into. Um, that being said, the rest of the team is kind of squishy, so not maybe the best use of the passive specifically, but Lilia I think has decent HP scaling on a lot of her abilities, and she if you land her abilities, she's able to provide a good amount of CC as well. So it's a decent team fighting pick overall. And I think both teams this game have especially strong team fighting. Um, Waldorf maybe just a little bit stronger in the ability to catch out anybody who overextends with the Pantheon, with the Leona. Um, but the CNE can easily counter that if Waldorf overextends into them. They have good disengage. They have good zone control with the Anivia ult, with the Amumu ult. Um, and you don't want to get Amumu ulted inside an Anivia ult. That's no fun. So I think CNE have a good comp to fight Waldorf with. Um, that also being said, Waldorf has a good potentially early game comp if they're able to capitalize on it. The good thing about Anivia versus the Pantheon, even though it's still kind of a weak lane, I think for the Anivia up until level 6, you do have the egg passive for Anivia, so Pantheon will try to all in, but if you are playing safe under your turret, it's a lot harder for that Pantheon to really truly punish you uh, in getting those kills. Um, so a little more potentially reliant on jungle pressure this game to get the Pantheon ahead, which provides also more time for a Mumu to counter that. Right, if they try to tower dive, then Mumu can counter gank and maybe catch him in a bad position. So it's just lots of opportunity. It's lots of opportunity for both teams, and um, really gives everybody kind of a chance to make the game their own, whether it be for CNE or for Waldorf. So
Yeah. We finally got back into our client here. We had some technical difficulties. Continuing with the client picking bands. I'm really intrigued to see the Mordekaiser Ornn again, because as we saw in the first game, the Mordekaiser did eventually win over the Ornn, but in the second game, the Ornn overtook the Mordekaiser. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that top lane plays out again in this third match.
and I think generally speaking, the second game, the whole of Waldorf's team kind of did well, and so Mordekaiser had to play a little bit safer because he didn't have the support of strong members on his team. So you kind of gotta, even if you do potentially win over the Orn, if the other team is fed and are able to collapse really well, then even if you're able to trade a kill, it may not be worthwhile. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see it. Early on, they're pretty even, maybe favoring Orn a little bit. But once Mordekaiser gets his first gets his mythic and gets some of that sustain going, he can really he can really give a match for Orn uh, to battle in the top lane. So
Mm-hmm. I'm also gonna be curious to see how in the bot lane, when we looked at the OPGGs, didn't see much of a Leona being played. So I'm kind of curious how that's gonna go.
yeah, that's definitely, if it's not a champ they play often or have I assume they've played it at least once, but if it's not something they play often and are familiar with, there may be execution issues, as is prevalent with champions that may not be something you play regularly. So, uh, which just provides more opportunity for um, the Amumu to set up some good to provide good setup for the Kaisa. And the Kaisa, even if you're going AD, Kaisa's still kind of weak early. You still need a couple of items to really get her off the ground and snowballing. But late game, once you get those items, Kaisa's pretty beastly and pretty dangerous. So
Absolutely.
the real question is, did Coach give you the $5 yet?
He did not, but it's okay. I have my teammates on my side, so we'll get it out of him eventually.
Well, that's good. Having your team by your back is the important thing. So.
Exactly. Now he's here, unfortunately, so I have to hand this over to him.
Okay, listen. I don't owe anybody $5. Never was it community. There was never a bet like this. What are we talking about?
You're right. It wasn't $5. It was 5 with a 0, so $50. I will happily take for my services. You are welcome. Thank you. You can sign the check to Josh Iron Prater at lying.com, address 10235 Imaginary Lane. Anyways,
Is your phone number 8675309 by chance?
8675309.
Never do that. Never do that again.
I will do whatever I want.
All right.
Good sir.
Talk to me about the game, Josh. What do we have going on in the picks and bans tonight?
I will be honest. You guys really threw me for a loop throwing that Kaisa out there again, only to replace it with the Anivia, taking away the Amumu. I think, just looking at the comps from both teams, that both teams have a very well-rounded team fight comp.
Yes.
I think a little more scaling from CUNE for the late game, especially with the Anivia. Anivia and the Mordekaiser. But I mean, really, you've got a lot of team fight potential from CUNE with the Mordekaiser, with the Amumu, with the Anivia, the Lulu, and then Waldorf as well, having the Orn, the Lilia, the Pantheon, the MF, and the Leona. Just one big giant ball of team fight, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to see.
That is exactly what I'm excited for too. So go ahead and keep going. But yes, I am kind of like, oh boy, it's gonna be a game.
I think a lot of the steal away the Amumu I think is good, in that it forces straight shifty to go onto something they may or may not be familiar with. But Lulu, a good disengage into the Leona. Waiting for the Discord to come up. Okay. The Anivia into the Pantheon, while Anivia does, I think, suffer from some of the scaling issues that Kaisa does, a lot more safe in that you can play under your turret, and since you have that egg passive, a lot harder for Pantheon to maybe secure that kill at the end of the day. And if he does, at least he secures hopefully less of them. And I feel like, at least in my experience, I feel like Anivia scales a little bit quicker than Kaisa does. I feel like on Anivia, you get 2 items. You get your mythic. You get your mana item, whatever mana item you choose to go, and then you're kind of set. You're kind of feeling good. You start throwing walls down. You start throwing your ult down, and you just really don't care what anybody else throws at you. You've got the Amumu to provide defense. You've got the Mordekaiser to provide defense. You've got the Kaisa to dive into the back lane, secure kills. Just really, really, I think almost strong counters, I would say, to what Waldorf is bringing out this third game.
Which is, I guess somewhat interesting since, Waldorf technically has the counter picks here. I will say just a little insight onto picks and bans. You're right. Stealing away the Amumu was kind of a, hey, you've played a lot of Amumu down there and you're playing it a lot with the MF. What if we take that away? Like, what happens if we take something away from your comp? Because we already have a player, Mr. Boogie Woogie, who can play it in the jungle really well and is pretty confident on it. So it's kind of like, what if we steal that? Like, what happens? Is there anything bad? Well, let's just see. Let's take a guess, and nothing to lose, but at least knowledge of like how to, they're gonna play that. Also, not banning, the same 3 bans coming through. We already knew they were picking their top support and AD carry, like in the first 3, and then leaving their jungle and mid for second round. So it was kind of on that, it was like, how much do you want that Panther Echo? They're going to get banned second round. They're not going to let that through. So what happens if that gets banned? Somebody help, please, by the way, going very low and getting ignited. And so he'll be low down there. There's a lot of engage, of course, with the straight shifty being on the Leona.
Yeah,
Still,
the Leona versus Lulu matchup, Leona definitely wins early. Post level 6, once Lulu has that ult and a little bit more regular shielding potential.
Yeah, and we got a nice gank going on here, and that's a really good wall. Is he going to be down? First blood going over to Mr. Boogie Woogie. Well done gank indeed. He misses the first Q, by the way. Hits the minion. But doesn't seem to really matter much. Lilia is in here, but might also just die. Gets the burn out onto the bug and takes a lot of damage. Doesn't get the kill. And so, living another
Something
day
else
is
I
the bug.
Didn't think about with the Anivia pick. Pantheon early on, before he really gets that damage off, when he's all-inning, it's kind of like, okay, you shield, and because he uses a lot of his burst damage up front, and he's not necessarily going to kill you in one go-through.
We do have a gank coming down bot side. Does get the hit. Straight shifty with the stun, but a lot of damage coming through. Will El Gringazo be able to get it? There are 3 very low players here, but he's not going to be able to find the damage. So the kill does go over to Waldorf. But they had to kind of work for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice canceling of the back, by the way, there on Tracio.
The Anivia into the Pantheon, having that wall to kind of force Pantheon to stay longer than he wants to allow you time to wait out that shield and then get your damage down, right? Just kind of a really good abuse of Pantheon having to all in order to try and get this snowballing ahead.
Yeah, and, you know, you got to think, too, here, Mr. Boogie Woogie being very active now suddenly in this game. Previous game, he was a little bit more passive on his ganks, but now he's shown up top. Doesn't force anything major, no flash or anything, and Jellybean knows he can go in here because he's safe from the top lane, but there's that wall. And the damage, yeah, you're right. Before the damage kind of becomes a huge thing, it does become kind of important that he has kind of a decent escape or is able to kill his target. 3 mid, by the way, for Concordia. And missing the initial Q, so that means that they'll know Boogie Woogie is there. They don't know about the Lulu, but it doesn't look like Lilia is wanting to aggressively go in on that yet. So opting to go farm top. Do some root.
Bjorn again opting for this tier build into Thimblewinter, which is...
Yeah.
I last game it kind of made a little more sense, I guess, because he was landing more of that CC, but I don't know, man. I don't feel like that's optimal.
Yeah, you know, there are times that, and I don't know, maybe it's just so with like the comp they're wanting to like try and get going. I don't know. It's really rough to say why itemizing that way is what he's doing.
1v1 sense, yeah, it makes sense because Mordekaiser wants to walk at you, right? So you throw your Q through him, you E through him, you knock him up every single time. Makes sense. But in a team fight aspect, unless you're looking to fight in the jungle all the time, which you may not always get to,
right?
It just doesn't feel like the right play to.
And, man, pretty good chunk there from both mid laners as the Drake does go over to Waldorf. They were able to push up their lanes aggressively enough to get that.
One thing that will be interesting to see, there's a lot of unique champion interactions, especially champions that can create terrain like Talia, Trundle with the pillar, and this game Anivia with the wall.
Oh, man, missing all of that CC initially. They do get the sleep off. Oh, somebody help, please. Able to survive. And the gank is, well started, but they just missed kind of the initial Q and then straight shifty not hitting the hook either.
Yep.
Kind of means that he escapes. He gets a lot of damage thrown onto him in the end still, but no death in the bot lane as priority. Being forced a little bit harder now into this bot lane by Waldorf.
But coming out with no death is still good for the Kai'Sa.
Yes.
You don't give the misfortune the extra scaling and stuff, so it does end up working out. But what I was going to say specifically about the Anivia wall, Ornn can charge into that. So if Anivia happens to put the wall in an awkward spot, she, instead of helping her team, could also just as well cause issue with her team.
A nice
gank forcing the flash.
A really good gank here forcing the flash and gets him back in Q range. He walked to the left and really should have rethought that. A nice flash there and a flash immediately out of Tracio too on that, by the way. Huge flash out of the jungler and out of the mid lane. But a kill against this Pantheon yet again, and a very, once again, we watched the last game, and whenever we were talking about picks and bans and that, it was like, what value, Concordia had a great poke comp, and what value did they get out of that? They didn't quite have the same value. Now this time, it's not as much poke comp as it is kind of like these two team fighty comps that want to just sort of force into each other. Really nice ability there. He has to flash kind of at the end, maybe a bit much, but pretty safe still.
Yeah.
Mr. Boogie Woogie is here, and maybe they'll try... Well, it doesn't look like the Lily is going to counter, which is good there. They will try and see maybe if they are going for the Rift.
Another thing I do like with the Amumu steal away Sands of Time and the Bug deal magic damage. Oh,
Big ults poured into this one. Somebody help, please. We'll die this time. But that took a lot. Oh, I guess I didn't. There was no flashes burned. I thought there was flashes burned on the side of Waldorf to get over the wall, but won't be the case. A little aggression going through here. Nice. Boogie Woogie able to kind of catch there. The stun, though, means that Jelly Bean won't be able to follow up, and they do smartly kind of run out of that. They don't want to fight when there's going to be 3 of them there.
yeah, CUNY playing very safe and kind of to their strengths. Having the Amumu on their team, though, with the Mordekaiser and the Anivia.
Oh, a nice ultimate here. Sands of Time with the ability to probably just kill Carnage straight up. Does get an auto off, and there it is. He's able to get the kill. He's now going to go Drowsy here, but he got the shield off, which is good. Once again, gets this up. Will he be able to get a double kill up here? It's a lot of damage from Tracio, though. It just has to get a Q. Okay, good. He chases him off and forces that. My goodness, Sands of Time able to get the kill onto Carnage and then force Tracio to not be able to get the kill back. That shield, by the way, that he popped was huge in helping to take away some of the damage from Tracio.
And Tracio tried to wait it out, but just didn't wait it out quite long enough. But the thing I was saying is Ornn and Leona do get a little bit tanky, and so having the Amumu passive where you're converting some of that magic damage from the Mordekaiser and the Anivia into true damage against those champions and against everybody. I mean, I love true damage. Having that steal away, I think, for this game specifically, is really going to do a lot.
And now we're going to see a setup for another Drake. I mean, it's like clockwork with this team here. Waldorf is really prioritizing it. And for good reason. They will see Mr. Boogie Woogie on the backside of this, and they want to drag it out because able to steal pretty well is the Amumu. Tracio going to get in between there, and Amumu will back away. The dragon resets there briefly, so it takes a little more time, but they still do secure it. 2 Drakes, 2 none, and a misclick there from Carnage. But yeah, this is a pretty... It's tight, you know. This one, I think we were kind of both feeling in the picks and bans that, like, this one can go really either way.
Yeah,
you know, right? I still...
It's execution.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of that. The other thing I could think of is this fight top lane has continued to kind of just be a ridiculous, like, slap fest.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting about the previous 2 games is if you remember the first game, you know, they tried to gank top a couple different times against Sands of Time. And they were successful, but the biggest issue was that he got something out of it somewhere else. So right now, Sands of Time is getting ganked yet again. They had to bring 3 people top for this. And they do kill him. So once again, he is dragging a lot of pressure in that direction. Concordia now can hopefully take advantage of that. The Rift will be summoned up there, so top turret is going to be dead, which is unfortunate for Concordia. I do think it's a slight okay situation because in the previous 2 games, that was dropped either bottom or mid and kind of helped crack open the map a lot more. Right now, it does crack open the map, not quite in the same way. Mr. Boogie Woogie is going to get hit there by Tracio, and not quite sure where he's running right now. But trying to find something, does get the stun down, takes the ultimate as well. Tracio will get the kill and has to flash away immediately because of the Bug's ultimate. So they get the kill, and knowing that he had to get the heck out of there, Tracio is able to escape. Unfortunate, though, they were able to get 2 kills. That's going to be a big stun. The ultimate onto El Gringazo, as he's just going to go in on this. Does he get anything? He won't be able to. Unfortunate, as Straight Shifty does get his ult down. Joe Cool following it up. And Concordia now maybe in a little bit of trouble just because of these last couple of plays. I mean, it was good pressure that was pulled up top in the first, death Sands of Time had. Was it a 3v1? So of course that's going to be, a hairy situation. But then the mid lane follow-up was disappointing. And then even this bot lane situation was also a bit sad. Straight Shifty is going to be in some trouble here. Gets hit yet again. And he'll have to flash the wall. He probably gets away, it sounds like. And missing that Q would have been big if he had hit it. The Bug able to stay under turret. Tries to stay safe. He does have the egg form if he has to have it.
I feel like this game is still very close, and it's just small little things that CUNE is missing occasionally. Like when Sands of Time gets 3-man gank top, bot and mid should be pushing out hard because there's nobody to really jump in on them. The MF and the Leona were back in base, still coming out, so it's like crash that into the turret, get a little bit of gold, punish them a little bit for being where they're at. Mid lane, I think Boogie just kind of took too much poke because he took a couple of Qs worth of poke from the Lilia before he finally decided to just kind of commit on it. And I think if he'd saved that little bit more health, the Lilia was so close to death that it would have either forced her to flash earlier, and he survives because of that because she's not there to keep dealing damage, or they just get the kill outright. But that's the thing, And Gringazo and Lulu playing very well in the bot as well as can be. When the Leona hard dives in on you like that, it is what it is. They did as well as they could, I think, without having backup on it. And it's just these small things, right? Like it's still a really close game.
Right. This is a unfortunate scenario here. The Concordia squad went down to clear out wards and kind of get ready for this Drake that is going to be important. But they were able to, Waldorf was able to go, hey, we got the Rift Herald. Like, let's just go straight up mid and get ourselves another turret. So they've cracked open yet another turret here. And, I mean, they're looking for a team fight. This is going to be probably one of our first team fights here to get things started off. Waldorf will start the Drake, but now ignore it as they're going to go in. Sands of Time has an opportunity up in the front. Will he be able to get the ult off to find somebody in the no man's land? He's actually going deep in onto the Lilia. And in the back line, we're going to see that Green Gazo is able to get some damage off. He's now going to get stunned up by Straight Shifty. Will he be able to get enough damage off? I don't think he will. Somebody help, please. Also going to go down. And Joe Cool able to get a triple into a quadra. And that means that Waldorf will be able to win that team fight. And I think Concordia just didn't have the right focus in that fight. They initially did get the Pantheon up front, allowing him to just die and for nothing. But after that, they couldn't get their hands on Joe Cool. Lilia, the Tracio was just way so far in the back. It was going to be hard to get him down.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure who Sands of Time used his ult on. It might have been the Lilia there so far in the back.
Yeah,
Jellybean.
I think that's probably who got ulted, yeah.
Yeah, Jellybean here is going to go up against Sands of Time. Sands of Time just going to push that off. He needs to be careful a bit because Straight Shifty is nearby. Just finding some wards and taking that out. So yeah, unfortunate there. Concordia, I think they had the engage that they wanted. And I mean, with the initial first pick against Jellybean, but then I think after that, enough was saved to get El Gringazo from the side of Waldorf that they weren't able to finish it off the way they wanted to. So if El Gringazo lives and doesn't get hit by Straight Shifty in that fight, I think it was a different fight. Unfortunately there, El Gringazo getting caught. Sands of Time also going to be caught. He gets ulted by Tracio, so he's just going to die. Somebody help, please, as Really looking for somebody to help him escape from this, but he's going to get probably dove under this turret here.
Yeah, and I think that last fight was really good. Started out by CNE, maybe just staying just a hair too long, overcommitting just a little bit, maybe.
El Gringazo committing to this fight. He will be able to get the kill, but rooted as Joe Cool does get a kill there. Legendary 8-0 on that, by the way. Carnage is taking a lot of damage, trying to dish some back. He'll get a little bit into the bug. The bug able to flash that last bit. And meanwhile, the entire rest of his team will be showing up. And I'm not quite sure what Carnage is thinking, as he now walks in there and realizes nobody's here. So I think their whole team is maybe a bit question mark around where exactly he went.
I don't know if that was him deliberately not going in there.
I don't know. I don't know either. It's a little bit of like, I feel like both. Mr. Boogie Woogie might be in a hairy situation here. He's able to dodge the last bit there from Lilia. But
yeah, the Amumu is fairly tanky, but that tankiness builds up. You want to look for those engages, but you don't want to overextend to the point where he's took a couple of abilities and a couple of hits, and he's at half health basically. And you don't really want to engage like that unless you have to. So I feel like maybe just kind of sitting back a little bit more and scaling up a little bit could potentially help him out. Yeah, overall, like I think CNE is playing this still reasonably well. They are behind a decent bit of gold at this point. Just because the Lilia has been playing well. BMS had a lot of support behind her.
we got the Drowsy coming in here. A lot of damage going to go down onto the bug. He will go into egg form, and he's not going to be able to survive that. Somebody help, please, is going to have to scoot out of here a little faster. He will be able to escape for now, but that pick is probably going to lead into, first off, all this jungle being taken. I mean, yeah, Baron is on the table. And I don't see Concordia being able to stop it. A lot of damage coming onto it. Mostly because Concordia is just not all grouped together.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Anivia's not a split pusher. Anivia is a team group push mid together. A lot of split pushers, you know, they're mobile. It's like Camille or Akali, people that have like get out of jail free cards. Maybe even Mordekaiser, you could potentially argue. It's champions that aren't gonna just immediately get blown up if they get caught. And like right there, you know, the Lilia got 2 abilities, CC'd her, and then the Misfortune came in for cleanup, and it's kind of like, well, okay. The Anivia doesn't really need to be the one split pushing. If anything, Mordekaiser should be split pushing, and everybody else should be fighting with the Anivia, either in a lane or in these jungles or around these objectives, just looking for these good fights.
And like clockwork, we are once again at the Dragon Pit. This one is Soul, so this one is pretty important for Concordia to try and rein in. Oh man, the bug is going to get immediately found out. That is an ultimate down, though, from the MF. We'll see. Red team is going to be able to secure that, and the rest of his squad caught on the other side. A bit of an aggressive push here from all of them. It will still end up being a pretty good win for him overall, though, as Concordia not able to stop anything. A triple kill, the first 3 kills of the game for this Pantheon. So he finally finds something in his pocket to reward him for being pretty far behind most of it. I mean, I say pretty far behind, not CS-wise, but just no kills until then. And honestly, it is, with that being the Soul Drake there, Concordia now has to base just protect their base. They need to fight as a team better, not sending the Anivia in first. And finding a better pick, as the Pantheon is a good selection, but right now the Fed characters on the other side, definitely this Misfortune, which Joe Cool before was having a real tough time winning a lot of fights, but now he is 9-0 in this current game.
Right. And it's just
Which,
because
yeah.
they've got some really good front lines still. You know, you're getting the Pantheon kills occasionally, but it's really hard to get to that Lilia because the Lilia is not immediately engaging. She's trying to hit with her little rolling ball so that she can get her ult off on the people and such. And the Misfortune is just sitting back looking for somebody to get a big ult so that she can ult, right? So it's really kind of hard to get back to some of those characters unless, you know, maybe Gringazzo's able to get a good tag onto one of them, and
I mean,
Boogie Woogie's just going to get caught out.
Yeah, Boogie Woogie's just straight up getting caught out here. I was really hoping that someone else on the team would get up there, but it's not going to happen. The Bug is even going to probably go down on this one. That ult goes back through from the Ornn. Hits Sands of Time. Nobody else here at the moment. As honestly, with that first pick there on the Amumu, and maybe a supplemental pick onto somebody help. Not quite yet, but Sands of Time goes in and is fighting against Jellybean. But as soon as he comes out, he's down, and that is both turrets down, which means Concordia here will probably lose game number 3. An unfortunate game here, as Concordia won the first one in a really good fashion, but then Waldorf went, no, I can't play that poke comp anymore, and so round 2 was just kind of a rough and tumble game where, well, Concordia wasn't able to get ahead, and this one here was gonna be close, but just neither one of the picks from Concordia was able to really pop off in any meaningful way, and both the Lilia and the Misfortune, after 2 games of it, not really doing, you know, I guess doing a lot in the second game as far as damage. In the first game, I mean, we rarely saw it do much in the form of ults. Second game, it finally had like its moments where its ults were huge. And then in this one, going 11-0, of course, and doing quite a bit of damage. But yeah, the Lilia for sure doing obviously most damage done, 24k here.
Yeah, and
but
it's
yeah, sad, unfortunate outcome going to best of 3 and losing in the last one.
Yeah, it sometimes happens, you know. There's a lot of things that maybe could have been done differently. I can't say for sure, you know. The Waldorf team had some a lot of their early picks were kind of things that could just snowball well. And most of the games that CNE played, it wasn't necessarily snowbally champs. It was the first game you had the Jinx. The Jinx snowballs extremely well, but the other times it's like the Kaisa and the Ashe, which Ashe can still snowball kind of well, but Kaisa especially just kind of takes forever. And it's kind of like if they're gonna go into something snowbally and you need a snowbally answer, you want something that kind of duels, right? You want like a Lucian or maybe a Tristana. Tristana, anytime I have to duel in a lane, I love playing Tristana because you go Halo Blades, level 3, you dive in, you put the E on them, you activate your Q, you all in them, and they just pop, exploded, done. And you start getting that early scaling